That's Bebo Norman and a song called Bring Me to Life. You're listening to Link FM 97.1, and as promised, on the line this afternoon, what I consider to be a national treasure, and I know a lot of people do as well. I'm speaking, of course, about Johan Stemmet. Johan, good afternoon.
Gary, not so much of the national treasure. I almost thought you were talking about somebody else now.
No. Come on,
Thank you for
are.
a wonderful compliment, but no. We just all do our jobs. I always tell people when they say, what does it feel like to be famous? And no, man, you don't get famous people. Everybody does a job, and in my specific job, more people see me working than somebody else maybe, and that's the only difference. Otherwise, we are all famous. Anybody.
I agree with you. I agree with what you're saying, but you are very, very special, and a lot of people have known you for many, many, many years, and that's not an insult.
That's a huge compliment. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Johan, how long has it been now, Noot for Noot?
Noot for Noot's been on for 20 years.
Wow.
But in television, I've been on for 30 years. I'm celebrating this year on sometime in July that I've been on air for 30 years non-stop on South African television, and that to me is a little pat on my own shoulder.
Yes. Take us back. Where did it all start?
It all, on television or...
On television, yeah.
On television started in 1980. I came up as a school teacher from Rondebosch Boys High School in Cape Town and joined television, and we, in those days, television had only been going for 4 years, so everything was very new and very experimental, and we were all trying to follow the recipes from overseas and try and do local stuff. And my first production that I did was a thing called, I was involved with a thing called Plate Praatjies. It was a little chat show about new releases, and the artist of the day was the Sears Reinekers and those people, obviously the Karika Kiers and Kam Sonja Herrels, all those that were around in the early days. But and from there I moved to another music show which I produced and presented called Plate Praatjies, and then various others. Melita, you won't remember them because we're going back 30 years now.
I remember Plate Praatjies.
You can't remember Plate Praatjies?
I do.
Then you must be 50 years old.
No, I'm not, but I'm almost.
No, and it was music shows. We had a show called The Beat, which was exactly like Idols is nowadays.
I remember that as well.
And I did all the Gey Sing programs with Gey Korsten, toured all over the world, filming him and shooting material for the Gey Sing programs. And then in 1989, I decided to leave the SABC with Johan van Rensburg and Elsa Colling. We were working together at that stage, and we thought, let's try and start our own company. It was a new thing in those days because you didn't have outside television production houses. Everything was done under the one roof at the SABC. So we broke away and we started a little company called Stemberg Television. And, a few years later, 2 years after, there was 89, and in 91 we were called into the SABC to partake in a workshop that they had, which was all about game shows. They wanted to sort of get game shows going in South Africa, which there wasn't really. There was the Flint Dinks, which worked well, but there was a lot of other shows which they were there, but they weren't fireworks. And because we were involved with music, we came up with the concept of a money note for a music note. And I so often think back, and I'm really humbled by the privilege that I've had to be given this God-given talent to be able to do this show, because it's something that in the television world you just don't see shows running for 20 years. It just doesn't happen, especially not game shows. Well, especially game shows, and I don't know, just something was, we were just very blessed with the whole show, and it was something. I always believe each one of us gets something from God, and this was the thing God gave me for my life.
Wonderful.
And it's been going for 20 years, and it's growing.
And it grows.
The season,
exactly.
Our audiences are bigger now than they ever were. We've got a wider spectrum of audience. It started off as a little Afrikaans show, and with Afrikaans music in it. And after the first series, there just wasn't enough Afrikaans hits anymore to use, unless we start reusing the stuff over and over, which we didn't want to. And the moment we started incorporating English music, and then later English artists, and the thing just grew and grew and grew. And as I say, I look back now and I say, what are we doing right? I don't think we're doing anything right. I think we're just being blessed, that's all.
That's God at the end of the day. Hey, Johan? Yep. How many contestants have you had down through the years?
Oh, now you asked me all the things that I need to do a little bit of research, but you can work out
400-500.
well, if you work out 4 contestants per program, 22 programs in a series. Well, initially it was 14, but it's been 22 for the last few years. So let's work on an average of, say, 18.
Okay.
18 programs per series, if you've got your calculator.
Well, hang on. You recently celebrated how many episodes?
Oh, yes, it was, well, we recorded our 500th episode.
Multiply by 4.
It's about 2 months ago, 3 months ago. So if you take 500 episodes, you multiply by 4, then you get
2,000.
Or 2,000 contestants.
Wow, you should have a reunion, man. Get them all together at Zoo Lake or something.
Imagine 2,000 in a studio.
Any memorable moments down through the years?
There's been many. There's been so many. I have been asked that question, and I've often thought, gee, you know, if somebody asked me that again, I must have a good answer. But I still don't have. There was funny moments. There were strange moments. There was moments when things happened to singers. There was moments that one of the most famous ones I remember is an opera singer who tried to sing Nessun Dorma, and when he tried to hit the high note, he pulled his stomach in and his pants fell off. That was very memorable and extremely funny. It took us about half an hour to calm the audience. And things that has happened, that's been said, things that's happened to me where I've said something and suddenly realized, oops, I shouldn't have said that. And then to try and cover, and then as you try and cover, you talk yourself deeper and deeper into it. The thing with Noot is it moves so fast that you've got to, your mouth must always be ahead of your brain. So by the time you think of something, you should have said it already, you know. So and sometimes you talk and you suddenly realize, hey, I should have said that. But other than that, it's just been it's been a very, very big fun ride. It's been just a fun ride all these years.
Wonderful, man. And what about the jackets? Where did they come from?
You know, television consists of the what and the how. The what is what you give people. What is it? It's a game show. It consists of music. I'm going to ask questions in different formats, and people are going to answer it. The how is, how's the show going to look? How's the set going to look? How are we going to make the band look? How are we going to make the presenter look? And it's all things that you need to add into a television show. The how is very important. And initially I thought, well, look, if I go and wear suits or something, it's not going to get people talking. We must get something that people can really talk about. And, you know, if you had a show and at the end of every show somebody wins the jackpot, yes, there's something to talk about. If you get an extraordinary contestant like we've had with Ferdi, our first blind contestants, and also Dankie, who everybody talked about a while back, then there's something to talk about. Or if it was a brilliant guest artist that just pops out of nowhere and people say, wow, like it was with Dozy, who was completely unknown, and we got him to sing some Afrikaans hits in Zulu. It gives people things to talk about. But if none of those things are present in a show, then give them the jackets. Then at least they'll talk about the jackets. There must be something. So we decided, first of all, we wore different colored cummerbunds, and then we switched to colored shirts with plain waistcoats. Then we had colored waistcoats with plain shirts, and then we came up with the concept of painted waistcoats, which we ran with for about 5 years, about 10 series, and to this day people still remember those waistcoats and talk about them because they were mad. It was silly to wear them. I mean, I felt such a fool sometimes, but I did it for the sake of the show because it was part of the how. And if you can get people talking, whether they say, oh, that's silly, or whether they say it's nice, or they're not quite sure, is it really kitsch, or isn't it kitsch, or is it good taste or not, as long as they talk about it. So I was prepared to wear those things, and it was in the interest of the show, and it worked for us.
Good, man. Johan, you're now on the spot. You've probably had this done to you before, but I've got a list of 10 questions for you. Yes. We're going to test your general knowledge. There are people that want to know whether you get all the answers in your ear on a Friday night.
Okay.
Or if you really know this stuff.
Okay. I can help you with that.
You can help?
Yes. It all comes from me. But I draw up the programs. So I set all the questions, so I do know all the answers. And if somebody gives an answer to something which I'm not sure, they can give me the answer in the ear. We've got people sitting up there with a computer, and they can quickly
Google,
source the song and just see, is this a title? It's actually just in the first game that all the rest is not a problem. But the first game where we've got 2 minutes and they must try and come up with as many titles as possible. Sometimes they give a title, I think, well, that one I don't know, and they sing it, and once they sing it, I realize now where they're making this thing up. And then I'll say to them, let's check, and then they whisper it in my ear, and they say, hey, that's right, or no, there's no such song. But okay, let me see.
Here we go. Okay, which was the very first group? These are all South African questions, by the way. Which was the first group to achieve success on the Billboard Hot 100 in the USA with a song written, produced, and recorded with...
For Jackson and Jill.
There we go. And the song was?
Bushmaster Jack.
Okay.
And we followed it up with Timothy, which Grega Kirsenkabbe is hit with first, but Timothy and the version of For Jackson and Jill was in the same year on the hit parade.
And Timothy came from which movie?
It came from the Professor in die Prikkelpop.
Dis reg. Jy mag volgende ronde toe gaan. Okay, which South African group started out calling themselves Conglomeration? This was also in the 70s. They then changed their name. They nearly broke up. They changed their name from Conglomeration, became an overnight success, and was probably one of South Africa's only supergroups.
Give me a song, then I'll tell you.
I can give you a famous song, then you'll know. Charlie.
Okay, it was Rabbit.
Yes, of course. Staying in the 70s, which South African group received a SARI nomination for a song called When Love Comes Knocking at Your Door?
Delians.
Yep, East London
band. They were from East London boys, and
that's
they played in the old Delian Hotel. Is it still there?
Yes, but it's not called the Delian.
When Love Comes Knocking at Your Door. Yes.
There you go. Okay, what was the name of Kurt Darren's first album?
His first album, his first hit was Macy Macy. The album that it came from, I think he had an English album.
Yes, he did. What was it called?
It was not Night Shift. Night Shift was Andre Swart. But I know it was an English album. 1995. Yeah, it was an English album, and his first Afrikaans hit was Macy Macy, but I can't remember the name of the album.
Okay.
So 50 rand for you.
I'll whisper it. 50 rand for me. Okay. Yeah. I'll whisper it in your ear. For Your Precious Love. There we go.
It was a song by the Flames.
Yes.
And they were a Durban group. And their lead singer was a man called Blondie, and Blondie sang for the Beach Boys at one stage.
Okay.
He joined them as a backing singer.
You're a walking encyclopedia of music. You should write a book.
To make a living out of this.
Which was the first Afrikaans film with sound?
It wasn't Kom Saam Vanaand. You know what it was? It was Die Voortrekkers.
Nee, it was he.
Okay, after the Voortrekkers.
It was in 1931.
Pinkie se Erfenis was back then. It couldn't have been a music one because the first music one was in 1948, was the film Kom Saam Vanaand, where Yuri Ferreira sang the theme song with the orchestra of his son. So this movie that you're talking about is not a music movie.
No, it's the first talkie, the first Afrikaans film.
So I wouldn't know about the movies and the talkies, but if it was a musical movie, I would tell you.
Well, it was called Sari Marais.
But it wasn't a musical.
No, it wasn't.
Sari Marais was a drama, wasn't it?
Yes. 1931.
Good grief, and they talked in it.
Yeah.
Must have sounded dreadful.
Who had a worldwide hit in 1967 with Pata Pata?
That
Easy
was
one.
Miriam Makeba.
There we go. What was the name? Number 7. What was
the second hit after Pata Pata?
The Click song?
Yes, thank you.
There we go. Can you sing it?
The Click song?
Yep. Well done. Number 7. What was the name of the Afrikaans music movement in the 80s?
It was the Voorvrybeweging.
Yes, I wasn't going to go further. It talks about all sorts of counterculture stuff. Okay, number 8. We spoke about the Saris earlier. Very easy. Who holds the record for the most amount of consecutive wins?
You know, it was Sonja Harold.
Yes.
And people believe it was all Anton Goosen songs, but it wasn't really all of them Anton Goosen, but most of them were. The first song she had a hit with was a song called Yankee.
Yes.
And Yankee was in a musical that Anton Goosen wrote while he was a school teacher at St. Stithians. And he interviewed Sonja after she had a hit with Ek Verlang Na Jou.
Yeah.
The song was used in the movie, and he was working for the Beeld at that stage, or for a newspaper, and he interviewed her, and he said to her, "Can I give you one of my songs?" And she said, "Well, okay, let me see what it is." And he gave her Yankee Kom Huis Toe, and she had a massive hit with that, and then after that started following it up with the Waterblommetjies and all the rest that came.
Ek Verlang Na Jou. What was the name of Min Shaw's big hit?
Ek Verlang Na Jou was Myne Geweer.
Nee, man.
Nee, sorry, Ek Verlang Nog Altyd was Myne Geweer. Do you know that one, Myne and Jan?
Yeah.
That was in 1971, 72.
Okay.
Ek Verlang Nog Altyd, when they sang us apart. And then Ek Verlang Na Jou was, of course, Harold. Who wrote the song?
FC Haman? No, that was her husband.
Die Predikant.
Jan de Wet, sorry, of course.
Yes.
50 rand for you. Okay, what was the name of Min Shaw's big hit which thrust her into the limelight?
There was quite a few, but...
The first one.
She had Min Shaw's first hit.
From a movie?
I'll tell you now. Just give me a moment for that one. It was...
ongelukkig, ek moet 'n antwoord hê.
Give me 5.
Nee, jy soek.
Was it Jy is my liefling? Now, I'm not sure.
Yes, Jy is my liefling.
Was it? No, but there was a movie that she sang in. That's what I'm confused with. The movie she sang in that Gey Korsten was also in.
That was it, wasn't it?
It was Hoor My Lied.
Hoor My Lied, ja.
That's the one I'm confusing myself with. Sorry. In Hoor My Lied was a musical and Minshaw sang in that. Now I was thinking of that.
Okay.
Okay, so you can take the $50. I wasn't quick enough.
Okay. Lastly, Karika Kersenkamp is perhaps one of our brightest shining stars. And I know she's just as humble about that. But she had a big hit with Dissa Land. Who wrote it?
No, I don't know, man. But that...
Ek gaan al jou geld moet vat.
Dis 'n land van kleure en klank. Yeah.
I
wrote that for her, back in 1989, I think it was, 87, round about there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just one of those songs that sort of worked. I'm just very privileged to be able
Wonderful. How many songs have you written, Johan? I'm not asking, it's not about bragging or anything now, but you're good at it. How many have you written?
Sure. I've written a lot. I've written a lot for myself. I had 13 albums.
I know.
And I wrote, most of them myself. The last, especially the last, say, 8, 9 was... And then for other artists, I've written a few songs for Gey and for Sonia and for Rina Higo. I wrote quite a lot. Not Sonia, Karika. But I don't know how many I've written. No, I really don't know.
And do you still write? Do you still record?
If you ask how many hits did you write, then I can tell you, because it's just a handful. But I wrote many songs. Sorry, what was that?
Do you still record?
No. I decided quite a few years ago, about 10 years ago, that I was leading a double career life for so many years. You're on the road singing, performing, recording, and then during the day you're busy with television, and it just got too much. At one stage, I just felt no, something's got to go, and the television was really running away with me at that stage. We were marketing Noot overseas, and it was running on British television. And I just had to make a decision. I had to make a call, and actually my boys made the call for me, because they were in their teenage years, and I felt maybe it's time to be at home a bit more with them, which I'm so happy and glad that I did. But then I gave up singing, and then a few years ago, 3-4 years ago, after not singing or performing for about 10 years, I think it was, Lucky Carlson phoned me from Maranatha Records, and he asked if I didn't want to do a gospel record, and I thought, now that I would love to do, because a lot of my songs in the past have had a spiritual connotation, but I would have loved to really make one where you can say what you want to say, and not be subjected to what the secular market really expects of you to sing.
Exactly.
And I made an English album which had the secular sort of feel to it, with more popular songs that had a little gospel meaning to things like Today of Today While the Blossom Still Clings, the John Denver song,
yes.
and the Neil Diamond one, Morning Side, and things like that. And it was just basically fun to do the thing, and then it worked so well that I thought, okay, let's do an Afrikaans one. So I did an Afrikaans one called Reisiger, and on that I wrote some of the songs myself as well. And that was nice for me to say, okay, now se klaar. And to finish on that note was fine for me.
Wonderful.
And if I'm going to record one day again, I don't know. You can never say what will be and what won't be. But at the moment, my life's very full, and my life's fine with what I'm doing now.
That's awesome. Johan, I could talk to you all day. Next time you're in East London, you must pop into the studio.
I would love
and come present the whole program with me, and we just sit and chat.
Okay, but now I wonder, a presenter on your station that knows so much, why isn't he on Noot for Noot? or has he been on Noot for Noot, maybe?
1994, yes.
Yes, you were. You were a contestant, and you did very, very well. In those days...
you know what? I won...
If you had to come back now, you'll do even better.
I won 2,700. 2,700, and it was a lot of money back then.
That's a lot of money, because in those days we weren't using the amounts that we use now.
No.
So when do we see you on the show again?
Well, are we allowed to audition again?
You can audition again with the greatest of pleasure.
Are you serious?
I'm very serious.
Well, I've always heard you can't.
If you haven't been there for so many years, our cutoff is, I think we say 10 years.
Okay.
Or 5 series. No, 5 years or 10 series. because there's 2 series per year.
Oh, no, I qualify then.
And then if you haven't been in a semi-final, then you're okay.
No, I haven't. Okay.
Good. I'd love to see you again.
Oh, I'd love to be there. Johan, in closing, quickly, it's Easter. It's Easter time. What does Easter mean in your life, and what is your message for our listeners this Easter time?
Easter means exactly to me what all of us just know what it means. The fact that Jesus died for us and that he rose for us, and that it's thanks to him that our sins can be forgiven and that we can depend on a life hereafter. There's just nothing like the grace that was given to us during Easter.
Amen. Johan, thank you so much. I could talk
you must keep
all
well,
day.
and thank you so much for the call. It was lovely speaking to you on your station.
And you too.
Regards and love to all your listeners.
Thank you. Thanks, Johan. All the
Bye-bye.
best. Bye-bye.